This original WSRE presentation is made possible by viewers like you. Thank you.
He is the leader of the world's premier flight demonstration team, Commander Greg McWherter, the boss of the Blue Angels, on this edition of Conversations. I'm Jeff Weeks. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Conversations. We're coming to you from the home of the Blue Angels, Sherman Field, Naval Air Station, Pensacola, Florida. And we're very fortunate because the Blues allowed us to come into the Ready Room, which in and of itself is quite impressive. Commander Greg McWherter, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We appreciate the great hospitality. What an impressive room you have here.
It's wonderful. This is where we do all of our work before and after each flight.
The Blue Angels, everybody knows about them. But what's the main mission of the Blues?
You know, the mission of the Blue Angels is twofold. First and foremost, the average American, the average taxpayer, doesn't get a chance to go out to an aircraft carrier, ride around in a tank. They never get a chance to see their men and women in uniform, the pride, professionalism that they demonstrate on a daily basis firsthand. So if we can drop into their backyard at an air show, get them excited about the opportunities available to men and women in the Navy and the Marine Corps, that's a great thing, a great way to pay back. The other part of our mission, quite honestly, is recruiting. 5, 10, 15 years from now, there's going to be someone doing my job that I influenced on the crowd line. And again, very few people understand that there are more opportunities in the Navy and the Marine Corps than just putting on a uniform and driving a tank or flying a plane. There are educational opportunities, there are opportunities to live in a very structured lifestyle and learn self-discipline, and most importantly, there are great opportunities to learn how to be a leader. And these are all very marketable skills in the outside world, so it's great.
What was it that got a young Greg McWherter interested in flying?
I was always interested in flying. I think, like most young boys and girls, you're absolutely hypnotized by things that move fast and soar. And I was absolutely taken aback by the first airplanes that I ever saw. My grandfather and father were both general aviation pilots, so I just knew that I always wanted to fly. I didn't really know that I wanted to be a naval aviator until, believe it or not, I saw a movie called Top Gun when I was a senior in high school, and I was like, wow, that's it. I want to be a naval aviator. I want to take off and land on aircraft carriers. Speaking
of Top Gun, you were telling me off camera, you actually were an instructor at one point at Top Gun, right?
I was.
How did that come about?
Well, when I went to college, I went to a small military college in Charleston, South Carolina called the Citadel, and when I got there and I said, hey, I want to be a naval aviator, and they say, hey, boy, Get in line. Everyone else here wants to be a naval aviator just like you do. And I was absolutely driven to become a tactical aviator. In other words, I wanted to not only fly jets off of aircraft carriers, I wanted to be an expert on tactics. So the only way to do that is to go to Top Gun as a student and hopefully get invited back to be an instructor. And it worked out for me. When I finished my first fleet tour in the F-18, I was in VFA 131 on the USS George Washington. I had a very rare opportunity to go attend Top Gun as a student. And when I came back, based on my performance and based on the dynamic of the staff at that time, they invited me back about a year later to instruct, and it was a dream come true. I enjoyed it.
What makes a good naval aviator?
Well, I think that there are a number of things. A lot of folks, especially the young boys and girls that we talk to on the crowd line, say, hey, I want to be a naval pilot. How do I do that? And I said, first and foremost, you got to do well in school. You have to have the academic background, and most importantly, the discipline to know when it's time to play and when it's time to study. And that's all developed at a very young age, I think, elementary school, high school, and especially college. You need to have that skill set to succeed in any aspect of life, but especially in naval aviation, because no matter how long you've been doing it, no matter how much experience you have, you're always learning. And if you ever get to the point where you think you've learned it all, you're probably more of a hazard to yourself and those around you than you would ever know, because there's no end to the amount of learning. I think a large, very important aspect of naval aviation is your leadership style. And whether it's natural leadership or leadership that you've learned through team sports, through being involved in groups, I think it's very important, because ultimately, while there are times when you're going to fly around in a jet by yourself, you're always surrounded by wingmen, you're always supported by a squadron who helps maintain that jet. And in order to be an effective naval aviator, you have to be an effective naval officer. And I think that's first and foremost.
Speaking of leadership, I mean, you're the commander of the Blue Angels, so not just the pilots, but also the maintenance and public affairs. So you
Right.
you have an awful lot of moving parts in there.
Sure.
What's the secret to bringing all that together?
Well, I think the secret in this organization is no different than the secret of a Fortune 500 company: communication. I don't care how big or small each individual's job is. If they understand that you value their job, you value their inputs, and they feel that they are a true player in the process, not just a pawn, I think that makes not only their quality of work more satisfying, I think that makes them enjoy actually what they're doing. So we work very hard on communication in this squadron. It is very much the big boy mindset, and that we try not to micromanage. We give them a task and assume that they're going to do it. So micromanagement is way down here. Trust and assuming that people are going to do the job that they've been assigned to is very important to us.
The Blue Angels are the best of the best. How do you become one?
Well, the application process is impressive in and of itself. We are one of the few organizations in the military that's allowed to pick our own replacements without any political or pressure from outside. Our maintenance guys picked their maintenance guys. And what happens when you're interested in becoming a Blue Angel, you put in an application. That application is reviewed by the team. You'll actually come visit the team, spend some time with the team, and then the team will decide whether or not not only are you the right person for the job, but also the right fit for the team dynamic. And the same thing applies to the officers. The only one who's not picked by the current team is, believe it or not, me, the commanding officer. I'm actually picked by a group of former commanding officers who all have sat in my chair, and that group is headed by my boss, the Chief of Naval Air Training, a one-star admiral who lives in Corpus Christi. He basically is my boss, the superior of the Blue Angels, and he forms that board to select the new boss.
So once you become a team member, how long are you on the team?
Generally speaking, the pilots, the officers are on the team 2 years. There are a couple of exceptions, but most of us are on the team for 2 years. The maintenance individuals and the enlisted personnel are on the team between 3 and 4 years.
Take me through a typical week in the life of the Blue Angels.
Sure. Our week normally starts on Tuesday. Tuesday morning, we'll get up early in the morning. By the time I get to work, our maintenance experts have already turned the jets and the jets are ready to go. We'll sit down for a briefing about an hour prior to our first launch, which is at 8:30. We'll go out and do a complete practice demonstration. So we'll be airborne for a little bit less than an hour. We'll land, we'll debrief, and from noon until 1700 or so, or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, we're busy doing the normal administrative tasks that are required to run a squadron. Wednesday is usually a carbon copy of Tuesday, with the exception that we stop by the Naval Aviation Museum and sign autographs for a little bit less than an hour. And it's a great chance, great opportunity to meet some of the local folks, and also tons of folks that come to the Gulf Coast for vacation will actually come over to the museum and spend the day watching the Blues and visiting the museum. On a long week, we'll actually leave that afternoon for our next show site. When I say a long week, it means that an air show site that's greater than about 800 to 900 miles away, where we would have to tank, do in-flight refueling to get there, or have to stop over for gas. So a longer trip we would actually leave on Wednesday afternoon and get to a new show site. For a normal show site, we'll leave first thing in the morning Thursday. We'll go up there, we'll arrive, we'll meet the folks that are putting on the air show, usually meet some of the local politicians, the local bigwigs at the shows. We'll fly a circle flight, which is our checkpoint flight, to make sure that we know the lay of the land, make sure we've identified all the obstructions, the terrain avoidance, all the things that we need to fly an effective and safe show. And then that Thursday night or Thursday afternoon, we'll actually go out and do a complete practice demonstration. So Thursday's a long day for us. We get there, we fly 2 more times, and then we usually hit the bed pretty early that night. Friday morning is our chance to get out and meet as many folks as we can. So usually we'll have a number of school visits and hospital visits, Rotary clubs, scouts, all sorts of groups in the local community that we'll get out to meet. And both our officers and enlisted personnel get out and do that Friday morning. And then Friday afternoon's a full practice demonstration. And every time I say a practice demonstration, I'm talking a full brief, flight, and the debrief usually takes about 2 hours. And then Friday night we'll go out to usually a social function that's put on by the air show or the community, and once again meet the community, thank them for having us, inviting us, and thank them for putting on an air show. Saturday morning, believe it or not, we usually have off. And so we'll usually hit the gym on Saturday morning, and then Saturday afternoon and evening are full of air show demonstrations as well as social engagements. Sunday morning is another morning off. Well, a few hours off in the morning, we usually go to the gym again, and then Sunday afternoon is a demonstration, and then Sunday afternoon, evening, we'll get our jets, fly home, and we'll actually debrief Sunday's air show right back here in this room. And then we get home sometime around 10 o'clock at night, and we'll take Monday off, and it all starts again Tuesday.
You said something interesting. You said you fly around and look for stuff at different air show sites, and I know that you guys use, I guess, different reference points to do different maneuvers. Expand on that a little bit.
We do. Our demonstration, we've got very advanced aircraft. We've got global positioning system. We've got all sorts of neat tools and pieces of equipment in our aircraft that would allow us to fly around very effectively and know exactly where we are. But our demonstration is largely visual. All of my checkpoints, I look outside and I see, hey, there's my 1 mile checkpoint, there's my 1.5 mile checkpoint, and 2 mile checkpoint, because my wingmen want to make sure that I'm looking outside the airplane for our checkpoints, because that's how we fly the safest and quite honestly most entertaining demonstration. Excuse me. So each show site that we go to, we'll go out and we'll make sure that we have all of our checkpoints along our lines, and we also make sure that we know exactly where the obstructions are. There's a water tower here, a tall microwave tower here, a building there. And then we'll come back into the room and look at our imagery, and we'll adjust and change our show as required to make sure that we're clear of all the obstructions and we can still put on a safe and effective demonstration.
In the diamond formation, so you're flying and you're hitting the checkpoints and whatnot, but the other pilots, they're watching you, is that correct?
They are. I hope they are.
Okay. So basically whatever you do, they're going to,
That's right.
to follow.
That's right. There are a few maneuvers that we call breakout maneuvers. Well, they will actually transition from looking at me to looking at their instruments and their own checkpoints, and we'll do that a few times during the demonstration. But for the most part, my 3 wingmen that fly on the Diamond are looking primarily at checkpoints on my airplane to fly the formations.
No, I'm going to brag just a little bit here, because I was fortunate enough to get to fly with you guys several years ago, and I'm not sure that people completely realize the physical aspect of flying with the G's. So not only are you mentally having to go through everything, you're dealing with a lot of physical stress as well. How do you deal with that?
Well, you're right. It is a workout, and it's a workout both mentally and physically. We don't wear G suits. We don't wear G suits because the way we fly the formation is to put our body in a position that allows us to develop a nice fulcrum, a nice base to hold the stick. Because remember, we have a 40-pound stick on our 40-pound spring on our stick that pulls it into the dashboard, and we do that to take out the null zone in the middle of the stick, so we can fly very close formation. So in order to brace our body and hold that 40-pound spring during flight, we have to actually bear down on our leg. And anytime we would have a G suit on, if that G suit inflated, then obviously it would move the stick around, and we can't have that. So that's one of the reasons we don't wear a G suit. To combat the G's, we have a number of tools in our kit bag. First of all, we work out 6 days a week, and we work very hard on core strength. Legs, glutes, abs, and not a whole lot of cardio, but a lot of core strength. We fly 6 days a week, and it's physiologically proven that the more you're exposed to G's, the higher your G tolerance will be. We eat right, and we practice. We actually brief our anti-G straining maneuver for every flight. And the last thing we do is we're the only squadron in the Navy that actually goes through anti-G training every year. We actually go out to the centrifuge in Lemoore, California, and they spin us around for 2 days just to practice our technique in combating G's. Go ahead.
The maximum amount of G's you might pull in a show?
8 G's.
8 G's.
Is the most our jets will see.
And for those who don't know, what when we say G's, what are we talking about?
It's 1 G is 1 time the force of gravity. So if you're a 100-pound person and you're pulling 8 G's, your body feels like it's 800 pounds. And the inherent problem with the G forces is that if you're pulling positive G's, all the fluids in your body, specifically the blood, will pool in the lower extremities. And obviously, in order for you to maintain consciousness, you need to keep blood flowing up to your brain. So part of the anti-G straining maneuver is to flex the lower portion of your body, specifically your calves. It starts in your calves, your quads and your hamstrings, your glutes, your abs, to keep enough pressure to keep blood up in your head so you maintain consciousness. And it's a workout. Our flight demonstrations are just a little bit less than an hour, And during most of that hour, we're under some pretty heavy Gs, and so it's a good workout. That's one of the reasons that we're so strict about our outside of flying workout regimen, our nutrition, and the fact that we maintain flight and we brief the techniques of anti-G-string maneuver every day.
What do you do if a pilot just doesn't feel well one day? I mean, are you sick? So you can say, can't do it today?
Yeah. We don't have replacement pilots, but we can fly the formation with an opening, and we do that. We practice it. I won't say that we practice it by design, but I think over the course of the year, you'll have maybe some small minor aircraft issues, or you'll have someone who's not feeling well. So we'll get practice over the course of the year flying different formations with other pilots. The only one who is absolutely critical is me. If I'm sick, then no one flies.
Tell me about the solo pilots that we see 5 and 6. What's their role?
That's right. Well, we talked about the diamond, and the diamond is really to demonstrate the precision formation flying taught to every Navy and Marine Corps aviator. And granted, we do it a little bit closer than we do in the fleet, but the formations and the maneuvers we do are standard fleet maneuvers. The solos, when they're not in formation with us, are there to demonstrate the max performance capabilities of the F-18 Hornet. And so you'll see them do high G turns, very high speed passes, low speed passes, and very dynamic maneuvers that once again help demonstrate the performance capabilities of the F-18 Hornet.
The F-18 Hornet has been the Blue Angels aircraft for how long now?
24 years.
What's its lifespan? How long will it continue to be?
Well, we are flying some of the oldest F-18s in the fleet right now, and we'll continue flying the F-18 Hornet for who knows how long now, at least another 10 years. I think that it's important that people understand that while they're old jets, they are maintained by some of the best experts in the fleet. Our maintainers are fantastic. The other thing that's important to understand is that while the airframes are old, the parts and the consumables that go into maintaining that jet are all new and reworked pieces of gear. So the jets, for as old as the airframes act like a brand new jet. The other thing that they need to understand is that we've got brand new jets coming off the line, the Super Hornets, and the fleet, the folks in the aircraft carrier probably need to be flying those. So there's no reason to put the brand new jets in the Blue Angels.
And they still look great.
They look fantastic.
They look absolutely awesome. Your makeup of the team throughout the maintenance and public affairs and so on and so forth is made up, I see as I walk through the building, a nice mix of men and women.
Sure.
Have there ever been any women pilots, or will there be?
There haven't been women pilots. As I mentioned before in our selection process, we're allowed to choose our replacements, and a big part of who we choose is based on not only their skill set. You have to be a skilled officer, skilled aviator, skilled maintainer, whatever your rating is. You have to be skilled at it. You also have to have a passion for the service. You have to be very excited about sharing your enthusiasm for the Navy and the Marine Corps, and those are very important skill sets. Kind of one of the intangibles is you have to be able to contribute to the team dynamic. We take one day off a week, sometimes. So I'm with these folks for the better part of 330 days a year, every year. And so our team dynamic is very important. It's as important, I would say, as putting on a safe demonstration. It's as important as signing autographs and all the things that we do in the crowd line, because any fracture, any division in the team kind of spreads like wildfire. So with that being said, we're very careful about who we select. When you get back to your original question, will we have women pilots on the team? I think we will. I certainly think we will. The pool of candidates right now is not very deep in the fleet, because let's face it, when you look at the numbers, there just aren't that many women flying F-18s in the fleet right now. But that number is growing, right. And I think the more it grows, the more qualified applicants we'll have, and eventually you're going to see a female Blue Angel pilot.
And that'll be a real breakthrough, I would think. That's be something pretty interesting.
I would think it'd be interesting. I think that we've made great strides in the Navy to treat people equally. I think that we've made great strides to not highlight the fact that they're different, because let's face it, in order for them to be treated the same, they have to act the same. They have to. We have to assume that we're all here on equal footing. And I think that it will be an interesting side note that it's a female. But I think if the Navy's being true to itself, it will be, this is one more qualified pilot who's been picked to represent the Navy and the Marine Corps, and the fact that she's a woman or not a woman shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
And that's where I would hope the Navy's going.
Yeah. Just another great aviator.
Just another great aviator
down.
picked to do a very neat job.
Yeah. I want to back up a second and talk about flying the shows, because I've heard your radio conversation, and I think it's kind of neat the way you as you instruct the team to do things, kind of the cadence you use. Expand on that.
Well, you know, everything we say on the radio has a purpose, especially when you're flying close formation. Trust is a very big part of our job. So when I say that I'm going to do something, my wingmen know that I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. And it's not only me saying that I'm going to do something, it's how I say it, because how I say it dictates how I'm going to do something. So, you know, just to say coming right is quite different than saying coming right. There's a subtle difference in my tone, there's a subtle difference in how fast I said it, which means I'm going to actually move the stick a little bit differently. And so everything I say has a purpose. And the reason that we train so much is because my wingmen need to get used to the way that I talk, and they need to get used to the way that when I say something, I'm going to move the stick or the rudders or the throttles a specific way. So it sounds funny to the casual observer. To my wingmen, it's kind of our religion. I mean, that's exactly what we know, and that's the best way to keep our formation safe.
When you're first selected as a pilot of the Blue Angels, you guys, I guess, do the training in El Centro, California.
We do.
I believe. How does that start when you have a bunch of new guys coming together? How do you bring it all together?
It's a basic building block approach. You know, myself, we start off not going out as a group of 6 planes. Believe it or not, the training actually starts here in Pensacola. You know, at the end of the season in November, when the old team leaves, the new team starts flying. We start flying not as 6 planes or 4 planes. We actually start flying as 2s. So 1 will go out in 2, 3 will go out with 4. And the way that we have our team dynamic or the team structure set up is that you only have 3 new pilots in any one year. So this year, I'm returning, so I'm a second-year pilot as a flight lead, which means my number 2, who flies on my right wing, is a new guy. Okay. Number 3 is also a new guy because number 4 is a second-year guy. So number 4 trains 3, number 1 trains 2. Now next year, when I'm gone and my relief is here, number 2 will be a second-year guy. So number 2 will train 1. Number 3 this year will move to the number 4 spot. So number 4 will also train number 3 next year. And the same thing for the solos. Number 5 is always the third-year guy. So number 6, who's a second-year guy, but he didn't fly during his first year because he's a narrator, will be trained by 5.
Interesting.
So when we get out to El Centro, or when we start flying here in Pensacola, we start off basic formations, same things that we flew in the fleet, and then over the time, as they get used to my cadence, they get used to the maneuver and the sequences, we'll start moving in closer. So at the end of winter training in mid-March, hopefully what the American public sees is a very fine-tuned, safe, entertaining demonstration.
I know you spend a lot of time in this room reviewing and debriefing, and I understand you watch videos of the show.
Right. We do.
What do you do?
Well, you know, the debrief starts off very simply. I welcome everyone back, thank them for you know, helping execute a very safe demonstration, and then we'll go around the room, and it starts with me, and we'll go from starting with me down to the 15th officer in the team, and we'll identify our own discrepancies. And how you do it is you start off by talking about, well, first of all, here's my specific goal today. I was going to work on the roles. This is how I thought I did on my specific goal. After that, I'll talk about my safeties. Here are the things that I highlighted that I did that I thought were a little bit unsafe today. I was 10 feet low on a pass. I was not focused on a certain maneuver. You know, these are all, you know, we're very much into self-awareness and self-critiquing. And then after that, I go through every maneuver we did and I talk about my discrepancies. A hair fast here, a little fast here, a little slow here. And basically I replay the demonstration in my mind and talk about all the discrepancies. And each person at the table will do that. Because the whole point of this is to not only be aware of what you were doing, but to really refine the demonstration and make it as good as it can possibly be. And the only way to do that is to understand that there are always discrepancies and there's always something to work on, even if it's very minor. You know, never will you see us come back in the room and say, "Whew, that was perfect. We're here." Because as soon as you think you've arrived, you've pretty much lost the bubble.
But it always looks good to us.
Well, thank you, and hopefully, I think that's what sets the Blue Angels apart from most other, quite honestly, teams or organizations, is because we never think that it looks perfect. We always want to fix something. So once we go around the room, all 15 people in the room have talked about their discrepancies. we'll put the tape in and we'll roll it, and we'll roll it in slow motion. And we will talk about real time, not real time, but as we're watching the tape, the discrepancies that we're seeing. And even though I have a pretty good recollection of what I did, I don't remember everything.
Right.
Same thing as my women. So by the time we finished with watching the tape review, we should have reconstructed the entire flight from start to finish, and we know exactly what it's time to work on the next day when we go out and do the same thing. It's a pretty impressive process. The important thing is that there's a lot of accountability for everything we do. Some of the discussion items are very pointed. Jeff, you should have done this. Greg, you should have done that. Concur. But the whole point of the process is to make sure that everything that you say in the debrief is for the health of the team and for a better demonstration. And so that when you open the doors and you leave at the end of the debrief, there's no personal feelings, no personal baggage, no hurt feelings. Right. Everyone knows that, hey, tomorrow we didn't do it perfectly today. Tomorrow's going to be a better day, and you do that all year.
We've got about 2 minutes left, but sure. I had a naval aviator tell me one time that, was actually a former Blue Angel, tell me one time that probably the most intense thing in flying is landing on an aircraft carrier.
Sure.
He said flying in a Blue Angels air show is like landing on an aircraft carrier for 30 minutes or something. Is that a good synopsis?
I think that's pretty accurate, because I think it's the level of focus required to do a very good demonstration. We do harder things in the fleet. When you're flying on an aircraft carrier and you're going out to do an air-to-air mission or an air-to-ground mission, there are things that you do out there that are harder. They're more difficult tasks than what we do here. However, the level of focus required to complete that mission come in spurts. You can kind of hang around and fly, and while you're focused, you're ultra focused. And then it comes time to do a specific portion of your mission. Maybe it's weapons deployment, maybe it's reaching the merge, maybe it's actually releasing the ordnance, where you need to be ultra focused to really accomplish your mission. With the Blue Angels, from start to finish, we're kind of in that ultra focused region, because we're flying to such precise standards. We're flying so close that you kind of have to be. And that's all part of the training, and it starts back in winter training, like you mentioned, El Centro, of how we start focusing. And it all starts from the brief. We start, before the brief ever starts, we close the door and don't let anyone in, no distractions. And we all sit here and talk and kind of share in the camaraderie of being a part of the team. Well, about 5 minutes prior to the brief starts, the conversations will die down, and it'll just be dead silence in this room for about a minute prior to the brief. And that's just everyone kind of getting focused. Yeah. And then when the brief starts, it's nothing but focused until the brief ends after the flight. And it's this team does a great job of focusing for what is a challenging and demanding demonstration.
Commander Greg McWherter, it's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so much.
We wish you all the best of luck. We've been fortunate enough to broadcast this show from the Ready Room aboard Naval Air Station Pensacola, the home of the Blue Angels. Greatly appreciate all of the Blue Angels for making us so welcome, and particularly Commander Greg McWherter, who is the boss of the Blue Angels. I'm Jeff Weeks. Thank you so very much for watching this edition of Conversations. Take good care of yourself, and we'll see you soon.